Okay, so this documentation here, it's going to list everything that we are going to do. So first thing, we'll need to check if your machine supports virtualization. Then we'll install these 4 programs. I'm just going through this whole list. Then do some settings on Git, set up Vagrant with VirtualBox, and then starting Vagrant. And then there are 2 issues that normally happen when you use Vagrant. Sometimes you have a timeout issue, and then we'll sort that out, and then we'll create some bash files to make our work easier. Go to GitHub. Yeah, go to GitHub, set up public and private keys, install BayTV. So we'll do all this. So I've just rushed through this to give you guys an idea of what we are going to be doing. So if you see here, I think I can make this full screen. I downloaded the files and put them here direct so that you can download and follow through if you wanted. So basically to find them, it's easier. So you can just do Visual C++. When you Google that, you come here. So I'm just going to show you guys where all the downloads are. You come here, then you see this. If you are this for Intel, so you'll download this 64-bit or 32-bit. So that's all. I don't want to download it. And then the second file, VirtualBox. Basically, you can just Google this and you'll get the files that you want. So where is it? Downloads. I hope everyone is hearing me, by the way. I just started without confirming. Brilliant. So yeah, this is the file. And then the other one is git bash. You can as well use command prompt, but I find git bash better and easier than command prompt, and you kind of avoid a lot of issues. And then as you can see, most of these files you just Google and you'll find them. Then Vagrant Cloud is the Ubuntu that we'll be using. You're supposed to be using Ubuntu Focal 64. So when you come here, and then you just search Ubuntu, you see there are many of them. So you just scroll until you find the Ubuntu Focal, which is this one. So usually there's a point we'll do Vagrant. I hope this is clearer. There are 2 ways of installing this Ubuntu Focal. You can install it directly from your PC or using a different command, which I'll show you along the way. So what I did, I downloaded the file directly. I just came here, downloaded it, so that I'll install it directly from my PC, because if you have to install it when you're setting up, it can take quite some time. So yes, I think we can begin. So first things first, installing the 4 programs. So we have Visual C++. Visual C++ is necessary because in VirtualBox needs it. VirtualBox, git bash, Vagrant. When you install in Vagrant, your PC will need to restart. You see, that's why I set it down last. So when you come here, these are my files, right? Okay, so This is the Ubuntu focal. I say downloaded it directly, git, Vagrant, like that. So first things first, you can check if your PC supports virtualizations by going to Task Manager. So if you right click on the start, whether on Windows 10 or 11, it should work. And then it's this Task Manager. Your Windows 11 may look a bit different because mine is the latest. So you just need to come to Performance. So usually you might find it here. Then you can see here. You can see here, virtual machine, yes. But this means it's present. But now you'll need to check if it's running. And don't worry, this documentation here, this with the necessary codes and everything, I'll share the documentation so you can be able to use it. So we need to open cmd command prompt with admin privileges. You can as well go to start and search for it, which I prefer using this. So when you type, you open run by pressing the Windows key plus R. So when you press that, it opens this dialog box. And then when you type cmd, to open it in admin, right, so you do control plus shift plus enter. So when you just typed that and you press this, it will open it in admin. So when you do that, when you type this command wmic cpu get, then you want to get details about virtualization firmware, if it's enabled. So, see now on my end, it's saying false. So when it says false, that means your virtualization is not properly enabled. So, okay, when you're using a normal PC, you normally have to enable this on the BIOS when you're restarting your computer. So I'm restarting my PC, as you can see. When it restarts, I'm pressing escape so that I can see the startup menu. Then now we go to BIOS setup. It's telling us to press F10. And then now you see when you come here, virtualization, it's enabled. So you need to make sure that your virtualization is enabled like that. Since mine is enabled, I will exit without discarding changes. So this has to read true. Usually when it disturbs, it is usually because of hypervisor. So when we get to that point, we'll see what to do. So we start with the first thing, which is to install Visual CC+. You see, if you try to install VirtualBox, show you. So if you try to install VirtualBox without installing this VC++, it will give us an error. And since we are going through this step by step, you see, it's giving us this error. So you will need to first install this. The Vagrant installation is the one that takes quite some time. So that is fine. If anyone has a question or a query in between, just feel free to raise your hand or interject. So once we've done that, you can see now next we go to install the VirtualBox. So here is fairly simple. So if you've already installed this, then you can just wait to the end. I'll eventually upload this and try and put chapters so that someone can easily skip to particular sections. So the part that will make us wait for a while is when you install it Vagrant. And as we do that, I think I can touch on a few things. So you see, the first thing we've done, installed this. Now we're installing this. Git bash is what we will be using. So that's what we will install instead of the command prompt. So finish. I don't need to start it yet. Then I come and install Git. So when you install in Git, there's just one setting we will change, and I'll show you this. This is because here, I hope the size is visible for everyone. So when we come here, because before GitHub used to use, the main branch used to be called master, but now they changed it to main. So this is the only part that will change, so that we use main. Used PowerShell instead of Git. Yes, you can use PowerShell, you can use CMD, you can use Git. It's just that I've tried CMD, command prompt, and I haven't tried PowerShell, but I have found Git to be way easier and better. So the only change is that place section where we need to change to main to be using the main branch, but the rest, just click next, install. And so I have not installed Vagrant or any of these programs on this machine, this VirtualBox, which is running Windows 11. And this was by design so that you can see how to install from scratch. And then if you encounter any problems, it should resolve it on the go. So that is Git. Then the next one is Vagrant. So I want this one to finish so that Vagrant is installed, and then I talk about a few things. So basically, Vagrant just enables you to use the terminal. In simpler terms, we are going to be using Ubuntu but we'll just have access to the terminal. We won't have this whole operating system, because as what you see, what you're seeing here is Windows 11 running on a virtual box. And usually if you're to run a whole operating system on a virtual box, it can be quite heavy on your PC. So that's why we use Vagrant. And the Ubuntu focal, the one that they told us to install, is actually Ubuntu version 20.04. So we'll see all that. So now we are to install this Vagrant. As you can see, it's quite a huge size. This is the Ubuntu focal from the cloud. So let that one continue. So basically, once you install all these programs, we will maneuver to git bash. So git bash is where everything of ours will be. And when we're in git bash, the best practice I have found is we create a directory which we can name Vagrant, so that this directory will be the one that will hold all our other subdirectories which will contain our boxes. So let me set this up. So don't worry, we'll do this practically. I'm just explaining to kill the time. So when you go to git bash, and you'll see we'll use the similar commands we've been doing in terminal. So we'll cd, and usually when you open git bash, it opens the home directory, which is usually, show you guys. The home directory is as here. So when you open git bash, this is where it opens. This is the directory it opens. So it's the same as, you see, when you do this symbol refers to home. It's the same way when you're using the sandbox, the home folder. So the home folder will be this location. You see, this specific location. That. So you'll find most of the time I'll be using a command like this and then say documents. So basically what this will be doing, this symbol here will be replacing this whole text. Okay. So basically now what we'd want to do, I'd want to have my Vagrant directory in the documents folder like this. And then maybe now have one called Ubuntu. So this, yeah, it's going on well. So this Ubuntu here is the one that will have all the information pertaining the Ubuntu focal box. There's this file called the Vagrantfile. That's the one that has instructions on how the box should load up, every minor settings. So you can have these folders the way you like it, but I prefer it this way. So I'll have documents. Sorry, this is Vagrant. I'll have this folder like this. So for instance, now if I want to have another box, so I'll probably just have the same, this part, and then we can maybe call it Linux. This is just an example. Of course, Ubuntu is Linux, but this is just an example. So that now when we go to this Vagrant directory, we'll have Ubuntu directory, Linux, every directory for our box. So that makes our work a bit easier. And then now we have this other issue. When we now create our box like this, there are two commands. The one that we have been using is Vagrant box Vagrant box add, and then we call this Ubuntu focal. So basically what this command will be doing, it will go to the internet and then look for this box, this one particularly. So it will go to the internet and come here and now download that box. And if you can see here, the file is about 600 MB. So it can be quite some time if I was to have been doing this live. So what I will be doing instead, since the virtual box is here in this folder, as you can see by this location, we will use the command that loads it from the local storage, which is Vagrant box add, and then name is just to specify the name of the box. You see, basically, since it's going to Ubuntu focal, we'll just use the same name, 64, and then now here we specify the location of this. As you can see, my location is here, right? So let me just paste it there so that you understand how that code works. This is where the location is, and then I'll just click this once to get the full name of the actual file. It's like this, but notice this is using backslash, but that's because we've copied it directly from it. It should be /. So as you remember what I said, this here is replaced by the home sign. So I'll just come here and do this home sign like that, and then where is it? We are going to the desktop, and then VirtualBox. You see, desktop here, VirtualBox here, but you see we are using /. That's how you go to directory, or call a directory on the terminal, and then you proceed to give the name of the file, which is a setting I have not turned. Clipboard history. This is very important. It helps us be able to recall what we just copied. So this is the name. So doing this command, basically what it will be doing, it will be adding this box from our local storage. Compared to what this would do, this will have to download it directly from the storage. So yes, you can see it's still installing Vagrant, which takes quite some time. So once we've added this, so the main things are let me just continue. You add the box, right? After you add the box, you initialize that folder, so that basically what this will be doing is converting that Ubuntu folder to this. This will basically now be creating the Vagrant file by initializing. So after you initialize, then you do Vagrant app. Vagrant app basically will be installing the box on the Oracle VirtualBox. All this will do it practically. I'm just explaining to save time. So add box here. We have done it with this. Yes, it's okay, Mojahid. It's been recorded. You can take your break. So add box, initializing. You see, once you add, you initialize, then this is what you start. So add box here is by this command, right? So then initializing means, because for every box to work, it needs to have a Vagrant file. You can directly create the Vagrant file there, but there's really no need to do that. You can just do Vagrant init Ubuntu focal 64, because you notice this is the box. This is the box we've added, right? As according to this name. So when you run this command, you'll be initializing now the box. Like, initializing is making it like the way we initialize variables by giving them names, values basically. So when you do this, this is going to create the Vagrant file. This creates the Vagrant file, right? So once you've done that, you're good to go. So when now you've done that, now you have the commands to start up your box. So it's even good this is taking a while. I can cover important commands that you need to know when you're running this. So we need to know Vagrant app. This starts the box, and then the other one is Vagrant halt. This stops the box. And notice, when you do Vagrant app, basically it starts the virtual box. You see, once it starts, you now need to log into the box to now use it as Ubuntu. So we use Vagrant SSH. However, as we do this, we will not use Vagrant SSH. We will use a different command. Let me share it. And the reason why we are going to be using a different command is because when you do Vagrant SSH, and there's this command ctrl+C, it allows you to cancel a process when you're running in the terminal. So when you do ctrl+C and you've started with this, what will happen is that it will exit you out completely. So that's why we'll use a different command which is just similar to SSH, but it's much better and easier. Let me show it. Let me just copy and paste it because it's quite lengthy. This is the command. So basically this is just going to be saying, this is the port, the address, and then this location here is actually where the virtual box is and the access to the private key. So this is what we'll use. Now, what we'll do, we are going to create bash files so that we do not have to keep keying all this. You see. Now, the bash file that I'll create, I'll name this Vagrant app. I'll just name it app, and then halt. I'll just say halt, and then Vagrant SSH, I'll use log. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. This is just a lot of theory. Because you can see this is still installing. So even if you're not following, don't worry. We'll do it practically and then things will work. And then there's the timeout issue. What happens is when you've done SSH and you've logged in, now you're on your Ubuntu. Sometimes what happens, you find that the machine just logs you out. So what we'll need to do is to do some changes on our SSH config file so that we increase the server alive interval. So we'll be adding these two commands. So what this does is that it sends packet data, a live packet data to the SSH every 60 seconds. And because ideally when nothing is happening, the SSH doesn't receive any communication from you, so it can time out. So this will do every 60 seconds it sends. Now this last line is just so that if there's an issue with the SSH, that's Ubuntu, if it's offline or there's any problem, it will send this 5 times. After 5 times, if there's no response, it stops. So this is important to have, otherwise you'll have your machine just keeping on pinging and pinging and pinging, sending packets continuous and that will give you challenges. Then after this, we'll create the bash files, which will be based on this. I'll cover that when you are doing it. Then we are going to go to GitHub, and we are going to create public and private keys. This is how we'll be logging in. And then once we do that, because at least the syntax is just the same when you're doing GitHub. You see, with GitHub, you need to have access to connecting to your GitHub account. And before, we used to use the personal access token, which has an expiry date. It can be cumbersome. It's just a whole hullabaloo. So with this, we'll create the public and private keys, add the key, and then state our identity. And then once we do that, we'll do some changes on the bash file. And then once we do that, we'll install Betty, make some changes on Vim, which is essential so that we can be able to use some Betty commands. And then the last thing is, yeah, that's pretty much it. So as we do this, I want to share some Vim commands which are important. There's this command, this one. All this you have to press escape key to enter into command mode. So what this does, it indents all lines on Vim. So this is an easier way to automatically indent all your lines on Vim. And then there's another one. There's a substitute function. So when you enter command mode, so when you press, well, let me write it all, then it will be easier to explain when you are seeing it. Okay, so this command, what it does, it replaces all the spaces at the end of the line. So percentage means go through the whole file. Then S here stands for substitute. So the general syntax is percentage, if you want to do everything on a whole file. Okay, let me just start by saying the general syntax for substitution in Vim is S, and then text, let me see, text to replace, and then replace with, like that. So what is in this first is what we want to replace, and what comes after is what it should be replaced with. So then now when we come here and we have S percentage, so percentage basically means go through the whole document. Then we say, what do you want to do? Substitute, right? Substitute. So we have this first line. So what are we substituting? You notice now we do a \s. \s stands for spaces. You see, so if the first instance of space, we do substitute. Then we say / again plus. This means iterate, go through, find every space, and then we add the $sign, which means at the end. Okay. Seems it is done. So go through the whole document, do substitution. What are we substituting? Space through everything where at the end of the line. And then now we do this. So you notice this section here is this section. And then what are we substituting into it? We just put another backslash so that what we'll be substituting is space, nothing. You see, so this section here will be nothing. Then G is go through the whole file, the end of the file. Okay, so I think now I will close this. Close this and this. And we can now restart. So yeah, I went through a bunch of theory on what will happen, what you're going to do. So if you didn't follow, that's fine. Don't worry about that. We'll get to do it practically, which makes sense. I just want to see if this virtualization has changed. Maybe it was not on because there was no. Okay, that's still fine. So now that everything has installed, I'm going to open VirtualBox so that you see what is happening. So I open Git. Yes, I have. Collins, I have. That's why I'm having these challenges, and it was necessary for me to do this because there was no way I was going to clean my PC and do everything that I have done. It would have been more tasking, so I've installed a virtual ES in a virtual machine. Exactly. Yeah, good. So now, this is what I want you guys to see. You see, when we are using the command prompt, documents. See this document folder. So when I do pwd here, you see it's showing me this location. So when I now do, because I want my folder to be in the documents. So when I cd to documents, if I do ls, you can see, so you see there's this folder here picked, which is there. So now when I'm in this folder, I will do mkdir vagrant. And as you can see, it has created this Vagrant folder, right? Then now I cd into Vagrant, and then mkdir Ubuntu. We have, you see, it has created this. I just wanted to show you guys like what happens in the terminal and what it actually does. So you see, the terminal enabled us to do things without actually having going to the GUI. So now once we are here, I'll cd into Ubuntu, right? Just to confirm, yes, I am there. Then once I am here, where do I put this? So you see, we've done this, installed all these 4 programs, and then in Git, we just do a small change, which is not so big. This, go to right click this, then go to options, and then keys. This is so that you can be able to use Ctrl+Shift+C, Ctrl+Shift+V to paste. Okay. So then the next thing we want to, we are trying to, we've cd'd into all this. So we need to now add our box, right? And I shall just copy this command here. So the major parts of this command is Vagrant box, then add, then we specify the name. And this is the name, Ubuntu focal 64. And then this path here is just the location, because it's on my desktop here on a folder called VirtualBox, this, and this is the name. So we run that, and then if it succeeds, it should add. So it's doing its thing. It's adding it from my local file. Just give it some time to do that. So you see, this is the VirtualBox inside a virtual machine. This is what is outside, if you can see. So I am running Windows 11, and this is, I updated the Windows 11, so I don't know. And you can see here what has happened. There's this setting. This setting is supposed to pass the virtualization from my host machine to this, and it be giving us challenges here. So we'll see what to do about that. But yeah, this is basically what is happening. I'm running Windows 11, and inside it, I'm now trying to install the Ubuntu focal. This is what I use on my current machine. So as you can see, the box has been added. So you can clear that. Once the box has been added, you can see when we do this, the file is still empty. There is nothing here. So we need to now initialize it. Remember the 3 things we said. You need to add box, then initialize it. And how do we do that? You just type this. This is much easier than trying to just create. What this will do, it will create the Vagrant file. So you see the file is not there. So when we run that now, it will create the Ubuntu focal. I have opened this machine so that you see what will happen when I do Vagrant app. As you have seen here, this is my host machine. These are the virtual machines, right? But when you use Vagrant, we call them boxes. So basically, when you do Vagrant app, it's going to create a Ubuntu focal here. So we shall just see that happening. Good. So you can see Vagrant file has been placed. So now when we do ls, love, you can see there's the Vagrant file, right? Let me let's leave the way things are. So you can see the Vagrant file is there. Perhaps this can be here as well, like that. Yes. So you can see the Vagrant file has been created. This one here. Let me just clear that. So you can see the Vagrant file has been created. When we open the Vagrant file, you can see this is what the Vagrant file is. So you see here, config vmbox, this is the name. This was what we specified by this command here, name. You see, it is the same thing as if you were to just do Vagrant box add Ubuntu focal. This will download from the internet and then it will give you this name. So you can see we've added the box quite fast because you already downloaded the file. If you were to wait, it will take us a minute. So now when we do Vagrant app, what this is going to do now, it's now going to start this Ubuntu for. It's going to create the box here in the virtual machine. And notice all these commands have to be run in the folder where you have your Vagrant file. So this is our Ubuntu folder. So this is where everything will happen. So now when we do that, this is also another lengthy process. And the reason why I have decided to do it like this, we will experience a few challenges, but you'll find that most of the time we just have to keep at it doing Vagrant app. So it takes quite some time here. As it does that, you can try and recoup. So we've installed all these 4 programs. Let me have it here. So as this is, you're looking here, also just see what will happen here. So now we've installed all these 4 programs. After installing it, we're going to git bash. Sorry. It created. So you see what has happened? It has created this here in the process. And you can see its state is saying power off, right? So you'll slowly see it will start. Perhaps let me exit that. So this small window here shows you what is happening. As you can see, it's starting. Yeah, I fear that this may refuse to start because virtualization has refused, and I don't know why. Give me a second. I found that sometimes if it refuses, because when we run this command, it should give us positive. So recording. Okay, so now if we do cmd, if I run now my command cpu get virtualization firmware enabled. You can see the good news. It's now showing us true. You can now see here it's giving me true. That's what we wanted. So the issue was my virtualization was enabled, but a lot of other settings were not. So the easiest thing that I did, I went to Windows features. And there are three things that were deactivated. Actually none. So what I did, I just activated this Hyper-V, virtual machine, and this again. And when after I activated it, I restarted, and then there's a very key command that is necessary. Let me just share it. We need to, once you activate that, you need to now deactivate it in command prompt. I don't know why it has to be done this way, but this is what worked. So this is the command that I ran. You see, because you notice that when we check our performance here, processor, and we go to processes, CPU, virtual machine, it was showing yes, but we were having this as false. So the ultimate test is this has to be true no matter what you do. You see, and if it is not true and it's disturbing, when you run this command, it's bcd edit, it just changes, it will activate, it will now make it true. So I can close that. Then I can now go to git bash, and then I can as well do open my Oracle. So now we'll cd to okay, cd to our documents, Vagrant, Ubuntu. You see. So what I want to do this whole process. So you see, when we do Vagrant app for the first time, Vagrant app for the first time, when you do it for the first time, it creates this, right? So now anytime you do, and then every time now you do Vagrant app, what happens? You will see here, this should now start. So, and then for the first time, this Vagrant app can take quite some time. By the way, so you can see default app. Hopefully now this should work, because for as long as WMIC gives us true, it should not disturb us, and I'm hoping. So you see now at least it's saying starting, running. Brilliant. That's what we wanted. So now I'm going to click here show, so that we can see what is happening. So if you guys have noticed, now the machine is running, right? So now, the stage we are at, here takes a bit of some time because it's trying to okay, Fuchs. Takes a bit of some time because it's trying to set it up because it's the first time. So you just be patient. You see, when it's hanging like this is exactly what is happening on the background. So ideally, we never open the virtual box. So because we don't need to, but I've just opened it here so that you can see that things are actually happening, so that you don't feel like nothing is happening. Yeah, so normally it will reach here, then it will pause for a minute. So you see what is happening. It's saying connection reset, return, aborted. So that's okay. Let it continue just doing that. And then you see now it reaches this point. So at some point, and this may refuse because my antivirus is on my host machine. Let me just see. Sorry, I just forgot to mention this, but I have paused it right now. If you're having an antivirus that is not the default on your machine, I'm glad this thing has worked nicely. Okay, so if you're having an antivirus on your machine, like for instance, I use Kaspersky, as you can see, you have to deactivate it, otherwise it will disturb. And sometimes even Kaspersky can still access a virtual machine in the virtual machine. Like you see right now, I'm using the virtual machine. So I can now switch it back on because it was corrected. If you're using Windows Defender, I haven't seen any issues with it. Okay, so once you get this, you are sure that Vagrant is up, right? So I remember I said that now once you do Vagrant up, we do Vagrant SSH. So the first thing, we added the box, we initialized it with this to create the Vagrant file, then Vagrant app. Always when you're starting the box, Vagrant app does that. So we can close this now, continue running the background, yes. So we don't need that now. So here, so when you do Vagrant SSH, it should log us in if all has gone well. But you notice I had said that we will not be using SSH because it brings us issues. I've just used this to show you the basic syntax. And I noticed usually for the first time, it normally takes a second. So where are we? Brilliant. So you see it has logged in nicely. You see. So I will exit. I will exit here. And then I hope I have the right name. So now you see when we use this command here, SSH. So the reason why we are not using Vagrant SSH, I should have shown why. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to show you guys why. So that you understand why we are not using Vagrant SSH. So this is the command we'll use. Let me just copy it in advance. I also forgot to explain why this is the case, but we can cover it up. You see, when you do Vagrant app, there are certain lines of code that shows, so it shows these numbers. Okay, so let's say I am writing some funny commands, and you see, normally when we press Ctrl+C, it should cancel whatever you're doing. But when you do Vagrant SSH, when you press Ctrl+C, you see what happens? It exits you out. So you'll have to do again Vagrant SSH to do that. But when we SSH using this command, it solves that issue. Trust me, being able to do Ctrl+C is very important, because sometimes you've executed a command or you've done something and it's just hanging or it's bringing issues. So you need to do Ctrl+C to cancel it. So when we do this, it will ask you, do you want to just say okay, say yes. So you can see now we've logged in, right? And so now if we type crap and we do Ctrl+C, you notice it doesn't exit us out. You see, so that's the importance. So now I will show you guys what I have done to make my life easier. So first of all, here I'll create a file called log. Okay, and in this file I will make it, of course we've done we've done bash files, so at least we know how to go about this. So I will do that. Bin barabam bash, and then the first line, so we paste that code there. So that means when we run this, it will automatically log. So escape dash do that ls, and of course we have to make it executable. Yeah, let me see. It should be green. So it has not changed. So change mode, user, execute on the log file. Okay, that's the correct way. You see the challenge. Okay, I have done a mistake. It should be hash and then exclamation. Hash exclamation. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. So that now if we do brilliant. So now you see it's green. For executable files, they appear as green. So at least we've also done some debugging here. Let me create these files, you'll understand why. Then now I'm going to go to my home directory. Then when I'm here, I'm going to create two files, app and halt. So I'll do vim app. Now you remember it has to start with hash, hashtag bin bash, And then what do you want the first thing to do? We want it to cd into the directory that has the program. You see. So once you do that, after it cds, what do you want it to do? Log. So what this will do, it will change directory into this and then run the log file. And what does the log file do? It SSH us directly. So when you run this command, it will automatically start up and log us in very fast. So escape then we do ls. Oh crap, okay. ls so change mode u plus x on up, so that when you do ls perhaps I should remove the yes, that's better. So now you see app is executable, right? And then the next thing we want to do is create a halt file. So vim halt. So what do you want this to do? We want it again to change directory. So of course the necessary bin bash. So we want to change into that directory. Documents Vagrant, that's supposed to be caps, Ubuntu. Then when you're in that directory, run this command Vagrant halt. So make it executable. Confirm. Good, halt is executable. So now when we run this, when we execute this app, it will automatically change directory into Ubuntu and then start up this, right? Then when you do halt, it will do the same thing. And then I'm going to create another one, log. This is because sometimes you'll want to have many instances of the log file, which it's just good to have. Let me just create all these files and then you'll understand. So vim log. Notice we are in the home directory. We are not in the Ubuntu folder. So vim log, enter, insert, start with hash, phone number. Okay. Bin bash. What do we do? cd into that directory. Documents Vagrant Ubuntu, and then run that SSH command. Let me see if my brilliant. So then do that. Good. Clear. And now you can see our Vagrant is running, right? So usually what you'd have to do, you'll have to cd into documents. Okay, usually you'll be working in documents and then Vagrant, Ubuntu, because you have to be in this to do any command. Then when you do Vagrant halt, just watch what will happen here to this. When you run that command, it should stop this. So this is just to show you what exactly is happening. So give it a second. It's always good practice to always halt any machines that are running if you're not using them, because virtual machines use up resources. The good thing with using Vagrant and Ubuntu Focal, which is this, is that it's less heavy because we're just having access to the terminal. But it's important to make sure you halt it. So just watch it will happen. You see it's now Let's see. Yeah, Yvonne, you should be halting. You can see power off. Otherwise, you'll experience a lot of issues if you don't, you know. And yeah, it can be a headache if you don't halt. So you see now it's powered off. So now let me tell you why we created those files. So you see we had to cd into this. If I close this, right, and then I come here and open git bash. Oh, by the way, what happens? You should just see live what is happening. When you go to the documents folder, sorry, it's not there. We go to this PC users. You can see what has happened. There is halt, log, and app. These files have been created. So this is just basically how programming is and why we were being taught to use the shell. Because you know you can log into someone's machine and manipulate data and things without having this graphical user interface, and then you use less resources because a GUI is quite heavy on the machine. Okay, so back to this. When we open our git bash, what happens is that it opens the home directory, right? So if you want to Vagrant app, you'll have to cd into where you put your Vagrant, then run Vagrant app. But you see now, with my this bash file, when I run it, it will cd into this folder, and then inside this folder there is this .log file. This log file. This log file contains the, let me show you nicely. Documents, Vagrant. You notice I'm accessing that file without cding into it directly. Then log. So now you see in this Ubuntu directory there's this log file. This log file contains this command, which is the same as doing Vagrant SSH, but this is way better because you can be able to do ctrl-c. So this is the first challenge we are dealing with when you are using Vagrant with Ubuntu, whereby ctrl-c these tabs. The second challenge is the timeout, which we will sort once we get in. So now you've seen what that does. So now when I execute app, so you know how to execute a file. So we do that. Watch here again what will happen. So Vagrant app, oh, that was a comma, sorry, app. So what this is going to do, it's going to, give me a second. I'll explain shortly. I'll have to cd into that. So that I show you what happens. We do Vagrant app. Okay. Yeah, I know this might seem lengthy, but it will make your work so much easier when you have this file set up. So yeah, just have to be patient. But I think if you're running it on your main machine, the host machine, it will be slightly faster. as you can see again, what will happen? So yeah, it's running. Again, you can see this small window. This is what is actually happening. So just give it a second. Now you'll see the importance of the Vagrant file. The challenges with the computer. So that the machine is up. Ideally, if we are to run log like this, it should, okay, we've seen log works. So when you do log, you see now we were logged into Ubuntu, right? We did Vagrant SSH into the Ubuntu folder, right? So now when we're in the home directory and we do log, that automatically logs us in, okay? And the same thing when you're still here. So you know when you log in, you have to exit. It's the same way as in the sandbox. We were being told about exiting the sandbox. So even here, it's always good practice to exit and to halt, you see. So here again, when you do halt, see what will happen. It should cd into that folder, Ubuntu, the directory, and then run the command vagrant halt. So you can name these files any name you want. I've just chosen these names because they match what is actually happening. So this will halt. So yeah, it takes a little bit of some patience. So you see power off. Let me just look at that Vagrant file, that app file again. Yeah, that is why. It should. There's something we have forgotten here because I am intentionally going through all this and encountering this so that you can just see also how we deal with dilemmas. So I go back, I cut my app file. No, vmit, sorry. You notice what has happened is that it's going to that Ubuntu folder, but there's one key command it's not doing, Vagrant app. It should do that first and then now log us in. So if I now do app, I hope the bash files are making sense. So you can see it's now what will happen here. So what this is going to do, you see when you do now this, we do app, it's going to Vagrant app and log us in at the same time. As in, it kind of makes work so much easier. And so I'm having this VirtualBox, Oracle VirtualBox open just so that you can see what is happening. You do not need to have this open. You probably never need to go to it. But now you see you can somehow understand what is happening, what Vagrant app does, what init does, you see. And then it will keep giving us this connection we're trying to set what. So I noticed, let's show you. It does that until it reaches this part. Once it reaches here, then it logs us in. But you see, with our extra command, I can now close this. You need to be careful. You continue. If you click here, it will close the whole thing, and that's definitely not what you want. So now you can clearly see what has happened. That command has started it. Everything worked great. So up is when our machine is powered off. So we'll do Vagrant app. So now let's, for instance, say you've done your work, you finished, you exit. So when you exit, it takes you to the home. Then you're like, okay, I wanted to continue working again. Now you can see the machine is still running, right? So we will not use app. All we'll now just do is log. And that logs us in. Easy peasy, very fast. When you are done, exit. So you exit and then you do halt. I won't halt now because the process of halting and starting is away. So now log. Okay, so once you've logged in here, see our file. This is the home directory. You see, which is Vagrant. And when we look at every file, you have SSH, bash, basically. So now we are moving to the next step, which is git bash. Git bash. And I think now I can close this. I do not need this there. Sorry, not git bash, GitHub. We are moving to GitHub. So now we've created our machine. So what we need to do now is to link this machine to GitHub. And we've been using the personal access token. And it's not the best. It has its issues. Someone see a key, what, all that. So what we'll be doing now, we are going to use SSH. So if you come here, to use SSH, you come here, settings. So we used to come here to, where is it? Developer settings, I think if you can remember, and then I don't know, personal access token. That's what we used to do. But now that's not what we will do. We'll use this option here. So the first thing is we need to create our private and public key. To do that, we run this command eval, not this one, that's SSH keygen generator. That stands for keygen generator. And then the keygen type is RSA. And then the byte, we need it to be 4096 encryption. These 4096, 20, these are a bunch of other, but this is more safest. And then what do we do? Commit to an email address. So yeah, I think I can remember that's the email address. SSH keygen, like that. So wait, before I do this, sorry. It is best to do this in the SSH folder. This is because anytime your GitHub is trying to connect to your local, it needs to find where that key is. And usually the first place it always searches is the SSH folder. So it is easier and best to do everything in this folder. So you can see here, there's nothing, there's just this one file. So we'll run this SSH keygen -t RSA, right? Equation bytes. This B is just bytes, how many bytes the encryption key should be 4096, and then commit capital C. Yes, like that. So now what you can see, what is happening is generating public, then it will ask us the name of the key we want. So we can just do, we can say I can call it Vagrant GitHub. You can call it whatever name you want. First phrase, this is not necessary unless you have so many keys and you want to try and remember them. So when you reach there, just press enter, then press enter again. Good. So as you can see here, let me clear this. Now when you do ls, you see what has happened. It has created these two files. This is the private key. This is the public key. The public key anyone can see it. There's no issue with that. The private key is the one that should be silent. So what we do, we need to copy that public key to our GitHub. So we use cat so that we can see it, and then come here and do this. Copy that all. Then now we come here to our, let me go to the main part here, home. So when you come to settings, SSH and GPG. Okay, this was when I was trying to say. So you test, and then you can call this the same name. So all these are just names that you decide, and then we paste this here. So remember, it will ask you for your password. So you need to make sure you remember your password. Do I remember this password? Okay. Okay, good. So you can see it has been added, right? So, and you'll of course get an email to this regard. So when the key has been added, so basically what we are doing is we create public and private keys, add public key to GitHub, and then after you add that, we need to start the SSH agent and then add that key. So all these things you'll do them once. We'll just do them when you're setting up. That's why it may seem tedious, but once you do this once, you'll not have to do this again. So now you'll come and do SSH. You need to pass the start SSH command to eval. So remember what we used to do when you're passing a command, put it in double quotes, and then SSH agent dash S is to start it. Then once it starts, it will give you this. Then now what you need to do is remember the key. We need to add this key. So SSH dash add. Since it's in this directory, we just do that Vagrant. Okay, before I add this, let me show you. To check if your key is matched with GitHub, ssh-t at github.com. You should do this. It will ask you that, say yes. It is telling us permission denied, public key, right? So let me just clear this. I do that again. So the first command we did, okay, to check if GitHub, this just stands for the key type. So ssh-t git at github.com. Permission denied. This is because we've not linked it. So we need to, I'll just do that thing again. Eval -s, put it in quotes, So we'll put this in an init file, in the bash.rc file, so that it does this for us automatically. SSH agent -s, close this, enter agent page. Then we need to SSH add. We need to add that key. Let me just do this. Okay, add. So it has added, right? So then now when we run that other command, you see now it will tell us we have authenticated, right? But now remember, once you add your key, you have to tell Git, like for the very first time when you're setting this up, you have to tell Git your identity, right? But anyway, so you can set your identity anywhere. So I've just gone back to the home directory. So if we do, I think this won't work because we haven't done anything. We haven't set anything. Okay, so now when we set our identity, we'll first start by setting our user email. So git config. This you remember when you are doing personal access token. So user email, specify your email. So now I think if we run git config global list, brilliant. So you can see what has happened. We've set the email, we run this, it's giving us this. So then we set the username, config global user. You see, global means everywhere for this account. Username to the name. I hope that's the name, yes. So that now when we run that git, you can see username, email is done. So once you reach here, you have successfully connected your account to GitHub. And to prove that, we will come here. Now we want to clone a repo. So what do? We create a new repo. Sorry, yeah. Create a new repo. So new, and then you can call this Vagrant setup. So I don't want a description, I don't need any of this. So create repo, right? So once you've created the repo, now when you want to clone, we use SSH. So we'll just come, you copy this, right? And then you come to here, you write git okay, what I like to prefer to do is to have my things organized. So what I'll probably do is create a folder and maybe name it okay, in this case, since it's LX, you can call it LX, so that now I will have all my repos in this folder. That's what I like to do. So when I cd to this, then I now do git clone and paste what we've copied. So when we do that, it clones, right? You notice there's no personal access token you're using, no nothing. Then to prove to you it works, we will create a file, read me file, since that's what we keep having to do every single time. Learning Vagrant and git Saturday midnight. Anyway, so save this, then you do the usual. So if we do git status, of course it won't do, sorry. See what I have done? I cloned it, but I did not enter into that directory. So what I'll do, I'll just move this readme file where I want it to So you see it's no longer there. Then when you see d2 vagrant, it's there. So if I do git status, of course it will say we've added a new file, but it hasn't been tracked. So what we do, git add. We can do this in all one command, but I'll just do them separately. So git status, no commits it. So when you do git add, that readme should now change to be green. You see it's green because now it has been added onto the list. So now you do git commit first file. So git status, it should just tell us no upstream, which is fine. So when you do git push now, it has worked. And to prove to you, if you are doubting Thomas, we're in this repo. If you refresh this page now, you can see readme first file commit. It has just been done now. So you've seen, if you're using the keys, private keys, makes our work so much easier. You see. So now, because sometimes with the Vagrant, it can disturb you and to ask you every time to start the SSH and put in the key. What we'll do is go home. Then there's this bashrc file. There's a topic we learned about initializing file. So anything you put in this bashrc file will run as soon as you start as soon as you log in. So when you do bash rc, open it, then we go all the way to the end, and then we add the code of ours, which is eval $, what was it, SSH agent start it, right? Then this is the part that you need to really know. So now you need to add that key. So you need to give the absolute name of that key. It's in the home folder, right? In the SSH, and it's called Vagrant GitHub. You must make sure the spelling is correct, so I'll just confirm that. So this, remember, it stands for home, then it will do SSH, then Vagrant GitHub. That's the key. So close that. Let me just confirm. ls ssh. Yeah, it's Vagrant GitHub, correct. Yeah, Vagrant GitHub, like that, right spelling. I used cat because I just wanted to see Vagrant GitHub. So you have to make sure it's the correct name. Good. So now, and I've exited it. Why? I don't know. Which is still fine. We have our bash file. So login. And this is even good. So you can see what has happened. There's an issue with that bash file. So I'll just bash. You see here, I did not end this with a double quote. Yeah, okay. So you see, the good thing with these computers, they'll tell you, at least if you have a good rapport, You can be able, and you can now see what has happened. Agent PID identity added. So this will always be done once you log in. It will avoid you having issues with Git. So we've done setting up GitHub, and that. So the next things are easy. We need to make our, okay. I think should I do, let me do Betty last because it's something that is crazy. So the next thing we are doing to make changes to our Vim file so that they have numbers, right? So for instance, if I do this, if I Vim, I can just do it here because we are testing. If I Vim and say Vim file test, and then I'll just copy all this and paste this here. You see, this has no numbers, right? It has no numbers. It's not even properly indented because if you try to, so what we need to do is make some changes to our Vim file. So you see we have this Vim info file, but for those changes to work, they must be in a specific file called vim.rc. Okay, so there are several lines that we need to do. So we need to create the vim.rc file and then add all those commands at once. But now I created an echo command, which is what I shared at some point, that will do all that for us. So because this is a hidden file, I've listed these things like this. So you can see here the vim.rc file is not there, right? So now when I do that, so this is just echo-e. So set tab stop to 8 so that when you press 8, it does 8 spaces, and then when we reach \n, we are going to the next line. So set auto-indent \n next. So we're just adding all these files and we're adding them where? To vim.rc. And this means this is home directory vim.rc. And this means when the directory is not there, it will create it with all that. So this has been done. When now we do ls again, you can see the vim.rc file is there. And now when we cut it, you can see this is the contents of the file. So that's basically what that command does. And now when we do that, now you can see, what does it have? It has numbers, right? So that's what we wanted. And now when we press, if we are here and we press tab, it will move 8 spaces, you see, which is what we wanted. And then now if you have a proper code, let me see, do I have any simple code? Changes to Vim file. Okay. So if you have a file like this, so we have include, this is a C file, standard input, output, header. Of course, include must have a hash, and then right now, at least with this code now, when we, you see, when we now create our comments, we press enter, they'll automatically put the star, right? And just to touch a bit on this Betty style commenting, the first has to be main, that is the function, and it has to be like that, and you say whatever. Then return has to be like that, colon, and then you say returning what, 0, for instance. And then we have int main void. I want to show you now what the tabs would do. Sorry. Int I, let's say I put this int j like that, return 0. You see, this thing has been indented so badly, like that. So when I enter command mode, and then we will be doing this command, this one, it won't show when you're typing it. So you enter command mode by pressing escape, then you do g equals g, capital G. So to do capital G, you press shift. So you'll be doing GG, then shift, GG equals, as here, GG equals shift G. So that automatically does for you the indenting, all that, makes your work easier. So I just wanted to show that. And then, okay, so the other thing that is left was what? Betty. So to install Betty, so there's the Betty GitHub site, which is this. So I'll just go from the Betty GitHub site. So now what we are doing is installing Betty. So clone, you come here, clone. And since this, we don't, you see here, we need password protection and keys, so we can't do SSH. So we'll use this. So copy that, and then so I will install Betty in my home directory. So what I'll do is git clone that. So it's going to be cloning Betty. Once Betty has been cloned, we now need to install it. So clear this. We want to cd into Betty ls. So we need to run the install. Now look what will happen. You see, when you run install here like this, it will refuse because we are not root. Because you see, now when you're working on your sandbox, you need root access, and that's where the mighty power of sudo comes in. So you just need to do sudo and it should sort you out, right? Then let me see, as this is working, there's a file. Okay, let's give it its time to install. Okay, once we install this, we need to create a file called Betty, and then make it have certain contents, make it executable, and then move it to the bin. So I just want to see if that file is here as well. Okay, let me just check as it's doing that. So no, probably it is. I'm just not finding it, but I copied it, so we'll just use that. The contents. So yeah, it's installing the Betty and doing all that for us. So I'll go here and show you what needs to be in Betty. So these are the contents that they should be in Betty. So I don't know where they are, but it's fine. So I'll provide this documentation anyway. Okay, so Betty has been installed on set. So vim Betty. Notice this is what we'll be doing when you do Betty. So vim Betty, and then just copy every single thing here from here. I'll refine this things better so that it's not confusing. So bish all the way to done. Right? Copy, paste it there, and then we can, let's see if our G, brilliant. So you see what I've done? I've just done GG equals capital G. It's very fast to give you proper indenting, you know. So save that, and then what you have to do is move this file. But first, you see, you notice the first line here is being bash, meaning this file has to be executable. Where is it? Betty has to be executable. So we do that. Let's give it for everyone. So we use A instead of U. Use user A is all, X, and then Betty. And then we just confirm that it is executable because it's now color green. Then now we need to move Betty to the bin folder. And the bin folder, let me just show you here. This is the home folder, right? These are the contents of the home folder. You see, the bin is not here. The bin is always located in the root folder. I think I'm also tired. Need some water. So located in the root folder. So we'll do cd. This slash means root. If we do this, it means home. So if we do that, and now we do ls, you can see now we're in the root folder, and here we have home. This is normally where we work, the home. So bin is where the Betty needs to be. So we'll go back to home, and you see if you do pwd, it's home Vagrant. So inside home, Vagrant is us, the user. It's like the way your PC name would be. So it's like, for instance, if you're here, users. So users here is home, and then this becomes now Vagrant. Okay, that's just basically how it works. So once you're here, we need to cd into Betty. So I've just gone back to Betty, like back where we were. I was just showing you where the bin file folder is. So we need to move Betty where into the bin folder. And where is the bin folder? It's in the root. So we use the /bin, right? To do this, it will automatically move Betty to the bin folder. And I strongly advise, if you want to move something to a folder, make sure you add the slash at the end, because you know MV moves and it also renames. So to avoid just issues, make sure your directories, folder or directories ends with that. You see, it's telling us what? Permission denied. Why? Because they want us to be root, to use sudo. So shall do that, and it has moved. So now I cd home, and I do Betty file C. So it has to be, it's double B, so double T, Betty. See, it's fine. But if I was to create errors, okay, we've all used Betty. I'm just doing this to show you. Let's remove that and then say yes. So of course this will tell us there is no description for main function and there is no description for return. So when you do Betty, you see no description found for function main and no value found for return. So Betty is now working. So what else? We've done everything literally, and I think I am tired, but I want to hope that everyone has followed okay. It has made sense. One thing I want to show you guys. You see, now when you're in Ubuntu, when we are in the home directory, there's this command which just stands for Linux Standard Base Release. This is just, by the way, it has no importance. Just wanted to show you. You see, chain as the version is 20.04, Ubuntu 20.04. And that's the exact version that they want us to be using. LX. Another advantage you can do, once you install your Ubuntu Focal, it's probably outdated. So you might want to do sudo apt update. So what this is going to do is going to update, get all the updatable files. It will definitely take a while because I've not done this, but it's important. I advise you to always make sure you do this. In fact, this is what you should have done at the beginning. It's the same way when you install Windows. Let's say you've just gotten your machine, it's new. Then you'll do something like this. You'll come, okay, new machine, yeah, you're happy, So you have to make sure you update it, right? So you need to make sure and come here and update. But of course, mine is updated because I made sure that was done. Okay, so there are two commands which I'll add it to the list of things. Sudo apt. This is when you even using Ubuntu, this is how you update files. Sudo apt update. This just gets the updates. Then you need to do sudo apt upgrade, so that now it does what? Upgrades. And you can as well run this command apt list upgradable to see what will be upgraded. Of course, it will be long. We don't need to do that, so I'll just do sudo apt upgrade. Now this one is what will take a while because it's going to download, upgrade everything, and it will keep prompting you. So just keep typing yes. So you need to be keen to see when it's prompting you. Yes, so I think this we have fully covered everything. When you encounter to check whether your virtual machine is running, to check whether how to sort out when you actually have it running and it seems to be saying false. We've done Vagrant app, we've created bash files so that we can be able to log in and log out and start a Vagrant, We've done initializing using the bashrc file and put the eval and all that. We've created public private keys. I don't think there's anything I have left here. We should now be able to work straight. So this seems like a lot. I know even time has gone. It's heading to 1 a.m. But this seems like a lot. But you need to. This you'll do it once. In fact, I think even on your own private practice, having Betty is not a bad idea. Maybe, of course, some companies might have their own styles, but working with Betty makes life good for it. Makes you be in check. You see, and yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh yes, there's something we've forgotten. The timeout issue. This finish. Okay, let me just finish as we covered other things. We'll need to do the timeout issue. Okay, the documentation I've written has somehow done things in order. I think it just kept my mind. So actually, I can still do this as this is upgrading. I can open a new window. Right. and then I just log in. Now this is why I created this log file, so that you can have multiple instances of you see. So this has logged us in, and then to do the timeout we need to, because the issues is SSH, right? So cd SSH cd. So now your focus should be on this side, so I'll just reduce this. So cd .ssh so we need to have a config file. It's not here, so we shall just create it. Config basically is just configuration. Then what we are doing is, let me see, where is it? Yeah, this. So this is the command. So this should the double quote, this quotes means just what is inside. So we'll copy that as it is, paste it here. You notice we are using Ctrl Shift V for pasting and Ctrl Shift C for copying. So 2gg like that, escape, save that. So with that there, what this basically means is a live interval, you're making it 60 seconds. So after every 60 seconds, it's going to send a live packet data. You see like what we are doing is we are using the Ubuntu, we're interacting with it. But for instance, let's say you've opened this app and then you disappear for a while. If you come back, it will log you out. It's, I think, a security feature. So what this does is to set, after every 60 seconds it pings. And normally when you send a ping to this Ubuntu, I'm trying to really simplify, it responds. It's like when you interact with it, it responds. Now this second line is just to say, should do this 5 times. For instance, if you're trying to ping this and it's offline, or this, let's say you're working with something online and it's not connected, it will just try it 5 times and then stop. So you need to do that. It's like having a loop. If you do not have a thing that loops up, it will end. No worries, Felix. Yeah. In fact, I thought we had time. I would have wanted you to create this, but at least you followed and you can see, you can look at the documentation, it will make sense. I'm actually done. This thing has updated, everything is